It's almost like you trained your whole life for
fearless
this moment.
enough to just say, listen, there's a clear issue. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, your whole life had brought you into that moment.
I think so, Brian. Actually, maybe. So I was like, okay, but it's one bit of data. But then I thought back to the Times journalist, and it's like 25% unexplained increase in heart attacks. And there'd also been some publications, I think, around that time in the Telegraph, showing, I think, that there had been this increase across the UK of heart attacks and stuff. So we've now got, I've got at least 2 bits of data. I've got the case study of my dad. Fine, it's one, but it's still important, right? Because it's like, okay, how is this, do I at least know of one person where I can say, link this together? But the icing on the cake was then I got contacted not long after that by a whistleblower at a prestigious British institution who basically said that a group of researchers in this institution had accidentally found, by use of a very high-tech coronary imaging modality, which they were using, that there was a signal of increased inflammation in the heart arteries in the vaccinated, which wasn't there in the unvaccinated. But they didn't want to explore these findings any further because it may affect their funding from drug industry, according to the lead person. Now, a lot of people hearing that might be shocked, but actually I'm not that shocked. It's not right. This research misconduct has been rife throughout British institutions for a very, very long time. And the problem is nothing is done about it. Right, Richard Smith, former editor of the BMJ in 2016, wrote an article about this, several scandals in the UK involving research misconduct, and talked about giving a lecture somewhere where he asked the audience, made up of academics in British institutions, how many of you are aware of a colleague that has fabricated data or committed research misconduct in your department? A third of the audience put their hand up. Wow. He then said, how many of you reported it? All of them put their hand down. So I was already heavily involved in understanding this culture. That's also why I tried to call for inquiries several times, because I knew this was a really big issue. So when I heard that, I was shocked, but I was like not that surprised. And I thought, you know what? I've now got enough information to say something. Now, I had been regularly, obviously, on BBC and Good Morning Britain through my activism and campaigning on many issues over the years, but I knew they weren't going to touch it. So I went to GB News. In fact, actually, before that, there's something else that came into the equation. I forgot about this. I think it was not long before this where the BMJ had published an investigation on the allegations that Pfizer committed fraud in the original trial. Brooke Jackson, Paul Thacker was the investigative journalist. And that wasn't getting any mainstream media coverage. And I thought, hold on a minute, this should be world news. Like, people should start questioning what's going on here. And it wasn't getting media coverage anywhere. Internationally, it may have been someplace in the US, I can't remember. And so I went to GB News and I spoke to Alexandra Phillips, who was the presenter then. In fact, almost everything that GB News, I've done with GB News, most of the stuff I've gone to them and said, there's a great story here, I'm happy to discuss it. So I went on GB News and that became a story through GB News, the so-called fight, and I talked about the fact that Paul Thacker, the investigative journalist, said that the FBI should be getting involved. Why the FBI not getting involved, right? And I said that on GB News. So I had all these other bits now coming into the equation. And in fact, even that article, I think that Pfizer so-called scandal on GB News, I think the Daily Mail put it on their website as well, which is great, right? So it was getting some attention now. So I then went back to GB News and I said, listen, I've got something to say on this abstract in circulation. But when I was on there, I then pulled up this whistleblowing story. That went viral and went all over the States. I think got millions of views. A lot of people contacted me then. But that's when I then started to get more backlash, which I've had before, where an institution that I'm affiliated with, a month later, they contacted me and basically said the number of doctors, anonymous NHS doctors, had saying I'm spreading anti-vax disinformation through this interview. I went on GB News and I said, we need to look into this. So then I realized that we were dealing with something much bigger than I've dealt with before. But I then went down the route, Brian, of thinking, for me, this is a real challenge. What's the best opportunity I have to get this out, to understand the data, absolute benefits and harms, and to try and ultimately get a suspension of this vaccine, because the data had mounted by that point. There was a big problem. There was a big signal of cardiovascular harm. How do I go about that? Traditionally, as an activist, almost every single medical journal article I've written has made the mainstream news, because I've made that happen. And I've only written stuff that I felt needed to be told. Everyone needs to hear. Doctors need to hear it through the medical journals. The public need to hear it as well, on issues on sugar, on low carb diets, on statins, on too much medicine, whatever. So I thought this is the only way I think the best thing I can do is to try and get this through a peer-reviewed journal. And then I would have the protection to some degree to be able to unleash on that published peer-reviewed analyses and use that to just keep pushing and campaigning.
So Jim Rickards has just recorded a video that's not available to anyone in the public, and he's going to be talking about how this upcoming recession is going to be fast, it's going to be bloody, it's going to be nasty. But at the same time, he's going to show you how you can position yourself to profit from all of this chaos. Now, we've made this video only available to our viewers. Go to londonreal.tv/Jim. Watch that immediately. I can't say enough good things about Jim Rickards. He understands the global economic system better than any guest I've ever had on London Real. His predictions are almost uncannily true, and you can learn how to profit from his vision, from his expertise, and his understanding of economics. So go to londonreal.tv/Jim or click the link below. It's an excellent, excellent look on what's going to happen in the future and how you can position yourself to profit from that. Jim is one of the best in the business, one of my favorite guests on London Real, and he's very, very good at predicting the future and showing us all to profit from it. So click the link, and I hope you enjoy. Hey, it's Brian Rose, founder of the DeFi Academy. I've told you my 4-week crypto bootcamp is amazing, but don't take my word for it. This is what my students are saying.
The DeFi Academy was an amazing experience for me. It took me totally out of my comfort zone.
In this course, I was challenged, I was held accountable, and pushed to do things that honestly weren't always easy.
It's been phenomenal, and I can't believe we're already up on our 4 weeks. It has flown by.
Going through this DeFi accelerator by far was one of the best courses I've taken.
You do this course, you really get into the nitty-gritty of the activities that will make you comfortable with decentralized finance.
Thank you so much to Brian and everyone at London Real and the DeFi Academy for even putting together an amazing course like this.
Anybody else that wants to do it, please sign up. It is well worth the money.